Assalamualaikum and good day to fellow panels, Madam Khairunnisa and Dr. Aimi. My name is Izzati Azahra Azmi and currently I'm studying in Bachelor in International Business. So before I start my presentation, I would like to apologize to both panels if my pronunciation is not very clear or my voice are lagging or not clear to be heard. Okay, let me begin this presentation with the title of my study. So the factors that influence successful halal industry is the title of the study. So in short, there are 5 items or elements that I will discuss, that I will present today, which are introduction, literature review, methodology, analysis, and as well as discussion. So the first element of this study is introduction and literature review, where I combine it together in one part. So this study is mainly focuses on the halal industry, especially in halal food. So however, as we know nowadays, halal industry has grown increasingly day by day in Malaysia as well, and therefore a lot of industry have implemented halal in their business and so on. But there are some people would think that halal only subjected on halal food only. But halal also can be implemented in tourism, can be implemented in transportation, as well as pharmaceutical, even in services as well. Therefore, this study is to tell others the concept and the factors of halal industry, like in halal food and many more. And so this study is to build the understanding of halal among Muslims and non-Muslim as well. So moving forward to the research problem. So the problems that occurs on this study is where the concept of halal industry, which is halal food consumption, always misunderstood by most of people, which this is not only happens among the non-Muslim consumer and business, but it sometimes happens among the Muslims, consumers and business like us. So as I mentioned, halal is not only subjected to food, and therefore that is one of the problem occurs on this study, where most of previous study highlighted the halal food instead of halal industry. To identify on halal industry, there are many factors that need to be aware of, like safety, lifestyle, awareness, and also the halal food consumption as well. So on the research questions, I implemented about 5 research questions in this study, and these 5 questions are to achieve the research objective. So the 5 research questions are whether the understanding of the concept of halal food consumption is subject to Muslim or to non-Muslims as well. Secondly is what are the safety characteristic features that need to be known in the halal industry. Next, is there any changes on halal food consumption between Muslims and non-Muslim on their lifestyle? Thus, the awareness of consuming halal food is subjected to Muslims only or to non-Muslim as well. And last research question of the study is there any significant relationship between attitude, perceived behavior control, subjective norm, religious belief, and halal industry via intention? As I mentioned just now, this research question that I mentioned is to achieve the research objective, like to understand the concept and uses of halal industry in halal food consumption, to identify the safety that needs to be taken into the halal food consumption. Next objective is to ensure the lifestyle that can influence Muslims and non-Muslim in halal food consumption. Also to identify there is awareness of halal food consumption among the Muslims and non-Muslim, and also to determine the predictive ability of attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavior control, and religious belief on halal industry. So in short, the research questions that I mentioned and research objective I mentioned just now are related to each other in order to make this study a success. So moving on to the framework and hypothesis. So 12 hypotheses were tested in the study. Each of hypotheses are related to research questions and research objective of this study, and each of variables required 3 hypotheses for every each of variables. So moving forward on methodology, the population and sampling of this study is subjected to private and public university students especially, and as well as workers from various companies in Klang Valley. So the age range I have decided to complete this study is between below 20 years old up until above 40 years old, where this is perfectly matched with the university students and workers that I have decided. So I managed to reach 150 respondents as for the sample size. And for your information, this study used the quantitative method, where a study believed that to fill a quantitative method, the sample size of the study must be not less than 30 and more than 50. So here are the summary of the measurement for this study, where the first variable stated here is the dependent variables of the study, and another which halal food consumption, and another three variables are the independent variables, which safety, lifestyle, and also awareness. And each of the variable has 4 numbers of items, except for awareness, where it required only 3 number of items. So moving forward to the analysis. As for the respondent profile, there are 5 items that has been included in order to collect the respondent profile, which are the gender, race, age, education level, and as well as the status of the respondents. So a little bit information where this demographic profile that has been chosen is important, as it can influence the result of this study. So in summary, this study has resulted that Malay women or Malay female aged around 20 to 29 years old who have at least a bachelor for their education level has a big influence in this study. And not forget about their status, the respondent status, who are fully time worker. So this study used the descriptive method as well. And here is the descriptive analysis, where this method is to analyze the demographic profile of the respondent. So as I mentioned, this analysis is to ensure that the respondent has influence in the study. Here are the results from the descriptive analysis, okay, which it concluded the mean, the standard deviation, the minimum and the maximum of the total respondents. Moving to the reliability analysis, where it is an analysis that to measure the dependent variable and independent variable of the study, which is halal food consumption as dependent variables, safety, lifestyle, and also awareness as the independent variables. So as mentioned, the halal food consumption is the dependent variable of the study. Safety, lifestyle, and awareness acts as independent variable. This analysis as well to measure the reliability of every question in the questionnaire form that I distributed to 150 respondents. To reliability analysis also to know does all of the questions in the questionnaire form are reliable or not. It can be measured based on Cron-Batch alpha with a value of more than 0.75. And here are the result of this reliability analysis for this study, where every question of my variables from the dependent variables up to independent variables are reliable and can be understood perfectly from the respondent and can be used for future study as well. So correlation analysis is to measure the relationship between independent variable and dependent variable, and to ensure that the result is a success, the test value of correlation analysis must be more than 0.01. So this analysis is to know whether the independent variable of the study is related to the dependent variable of the study. So as shown in the table here are the results of the correlation analysis, which every variable has a relation to dependent variables. So V1 here is the dependent variable, V2, V3, V4 is the independent variables. So moving forward to regression analysis. Regression analysis is where the analysis to measure the relationship of the variables. And it can be based on the coefficient test. So as shown here in the table, this is the coefficient test or coefficient results of this study. So moving to discussion, which last but not least, the last element of this presentation is discussion, where to be concluded, the objective of this study were tested through descriptive, reliability, correlation, and regression methods by using the SPSS method. So the data analysis helps the study to get a better understanding and better theory on this method. In fact, the study shows that every independent variable in this study, which are safety, lifestyle, and also awareness, has affected on the halal food consumption that acts as the dependent variables. As usual, in many cases, in many study, there are limitations in order to complete this study, like having a difficulty to find more information from previous study, where I mentioned that it's so very difficult to find a study that focus on a factor of safety, lifestyle, and awareness from previous study. So because of lacking of information from previous study, it's also difficult for me to find the questionnaire that can suitable for my independent variables. So in conclusion, this study is to focus on the safety, lifestyle, and awareness of halal food consumption. And not just that, the study has shown that there are new factors that can be implemented in halal food consumption as well. That's all from me. Thank you.